All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, I'm Reginald Finley. And in the news recently, there was some talk about cell phones potentially causing cancer, as well as coffee causing cancer and other types of things. So, as promised, I discussed last show, my introduction, that I was going to start talking about some of these things. And I figured, what a better way to first open up about how to research these things by, well, let's talk about research. I think it's easy for people to say, oh, well, just look it up. Well, yeah. How do you look it up, though? As we see that there's a lot of fake news out there, so it's time we dig a little deeper. Like, how are people conducting their research? Where are they going to find out what's true? How do we know if it's even true? All right, so I decided that our topic today, again, like I said, how to properly conduct internet research. I have kind of broken things down to basically five kinds of searching and doing research, and there's actually many more, and some have broken them down to just a few. But I like to talk about casual and careless. I like to call it casual and careless. Typically, that kind of research is. Then there's searching with bias. Then there's searching with reduced bias. And then there's something I call 4A and 4B, and that is academic level, in which you're investigating and researching things at a higher level on the internet, as well as maybe using for the 4B part, using terrestrial and traditional locations such as a library or talking to professors and getting firsthand resources and stuff like that. So, without further ado, first things first, I'm going to switch over to this screen here first. But anyway, so let's. Google Scholar is something I'm going to bring up, but let's go to crystal energy. I decided the topic is going to be about crystal energy. And yes, if you haven't heard of it, it's a thing. Some people believe that they can use crystals, some form of crystalline substance. I don't know why salt and sugar is not included in many of those traditions, but or even ice cubes. But certain earth crystals contain some kind of magical or energy that one can utilize to either channel feelings of positivity or maybe even healing aspects to them. Um, some may say, oh, well, during a full moon, it has this kind of energy, and during a solar eclipse, that this particular crystal may have this energy. Well, so I decided, well, how do we know if this is even a thing or not? Many of us out there listening probably don't believe in crystal energy, but some people may be searching this and might bump into this video. So I figure I'll talk about crystal energy as well as benefit others and how to actually do some looking. All right, so what can we do? Well, I think the first thing that people will do is they go to Google and they type in crystal energy. All right, well, what is the first thing you see if you go to Google and you type in crystal energy? Now, for one thing, don't forget, when you go to Google, when you conduct a search string here, if you put in quotation marks like this, it'll only look for everything that has exactly that pattern of crystal energy. It's got to be crystal energy and included as pretty much together every single time on the website. If you do that, notice you'll end up with Amazon.com crystal energy, but also I can just still do it like that way and still end up with Amazon. So Google is now trying to sell me things, right? Look at all this, 11 pieces of healing crystals over here. A bottle of crystal energy over here. What the heck is a bottle of crystal energy? Oh my gosh. Anyway, all right. So, well, obviously, when you do a crystal energy search, obviously, then the first thing you end up running into then are just, well, links of websites trying to either sell you things or websites, of course, supporting it. So if you were doing a research project for high school, you're not going to go, teacher, I want to do a research project about crystals and crystal energy. And the teacher says, okay, great, go ahead and do that. And you go, Google crystal energy and how crystal energy, high crystal energy stones using high vibration crystals. Wow, see, I always knew they worked. So let me click here and check it out. No, that's not really how it works. Of course, you're going to get the first hits to websites promoting it, but how do you know if that website is what it says it is? Well, first thing, what I typically do is I go to, when I go to a website like this, I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom and I look for resources. Okay, first thing I do. I don't see any at the end of the article. Don't see anything there. I see a lot of references and links to other categories of the website. High vibration stones, but there's no references. And what I mean by references is I'm looking for an actual scholarly website link or some information about this stuff. Like, if these things are true, immediately there should have been a link here. Now, granted, at Wikipedia, we may see things like that. So let's just go to wikipedia.com and we're going to look for topaz. All right, which is a type of gemstone. So come on. All right, so let's type in topaz. Why not? All right, now there it is. Now, it talks about the chemical formula of it. And wow, what's this? There's a reference. Aha, 5. If I click there, there's a reference here to a resource. Now, some people say don't use Wikipedia. That's bull. Wikipedia is perfectly fine to use. What you have to do is make sure you look at the sources and then go to those sources and see and double check to see if those are primary sources. If those are not primary sources, then you need to keep digging a little bit deeper, right? So the problem is, if I would have gone to this website here and it said here, motherjones.com, my beliefs in crystals are rad, then you know something is not quite right. You would simply, say, okay, that's not right. Let me see what's going on here. And again, and you can follow that website too. Maybe there's a link to a first-hand resource, but you have to keep digging. You just can't go by what you think and what you feel first to figure things out. So Wikipedia actually is fine when you are seeking general information. Just make sure, check out these little numbers here to verify that what they're saying is true. And then, of course, then you want to search for that resource as well. So like for here, I would copy and paste this. I would go like this, and I'll copy that or do the whole thing and put that in Google, and I would search that up. All right, just to make sure that that their claims are correct and that I'm doing the right thing. Then I'll go down here in the references here if I need to. All of these should be referenced in the article above, right? So this is where I'd go. This is how you do general research about something, trying to discover more about that item. This isn't necessarily about a truth claim though, per se. This is just giving you information about a particular thing. So if you want to find out whether or not something's true, one thing you can do is what I like to do here is, let's go back to where we were on our Google search here for crystal energy. One thing you can do to make sure, again, what you want to do is put this in quotes because we want to find every single reference. Crystal energy. Now let's type in, how about fake? Is it fake? Interesting. Well, there's a criticism here apparently of crystal healing, which is fine because I may have a belief that crystal energy produces healing. That's perfect. I can go here and find out more about what is going on. And now I see that this source, I'm angry. I know crystal energy works. This says a pseudoscientific alternative. That is not fair. I know it works. My grandmother was healed of her cancer from holding onto an emerald stone or whatever. So I know it works. And so this is just bull crap. They're attacking my whole chakra belief. That's when you put the brakes on. When you find yourself getting upset over information without you looking into it, you might be biased. Okay, first say, okay, why are they calling it pseudoscientific? Always ask yourself, could I be wrong? You must ask the who, what, when, where, why, and how. If you don't do that, then you will never really move closer to what reality is, to what truth is. And unfortunately, that's a lot of things that people do unconsciously. I think when doing research, they get emotional first. I think they find a term they don't like, and then they start attacking anything at all contradictory or contrary to their position instead of looking at the actual facts, if they are facts, as they are. Okay, so but that's okay. You may hate it. Let's check out the references and see. And then one could say, I can see them. I can see one saying, all this is fake. Look at all this is not true. They're attacking my belief system. All right, so again, let's go back. How about crystal energy study? So let's say that you think someone is just out to take your crystal energy or your crystals. They're trying to steal their energy from you. So what you can do is you can go to check out. Now this is what crystals have healing powers. So this says people also ask. It doesn't mean that this is true because people are asking the question. Not to mention, they're probably asking the wrong question. It should be, how does crystal energy work in the first place, if it even does work? And when you click on those links, make sure that they are backed with evidence. How does crystal energy work? All right. And it says, now typically, and I'm glad this came up because I was going to mention this. Now, a lot of the pseudoscientific websites or informative sites or disinformative sites tend to use scientific-y, or they may use a smattering or a conglomeration of words together that sound kind of spiritual or scientific-y to kind of drive you closer to it, to draw you into their information or the product. And so I have an example here, then I'll read this one on the screen. It says here, I wrote this, my little notes here before the little program. The resonating power of the dilithium crystals allows the permeation of sorry, I can't even say it with a clear conscience here. The permeation of metabiological actin proteins, thereby activating the phytochemicals, initiating the Manchurian effect. All right, now people can just say anything and it sounds like it's science. And if all you listen to are buzzwords, as someone who is not a very scientifically minded person or person who's not very investigative, then you would probably be taken by certain things. Oh, he said resonance and power and crystals and permeates. Oh, I like that term, permeates. So therefore it must be true. No. But we have to be careful because sometimes there are combinations of scientific words that could sound really well, but also be crappy. Like the metabolic pathway responsible for activation energy resides in the alpha beta protein complex. Sounds reasonable. Could be true even. But how you know? You have to look it up. And unfortunately, I think people tend to go to the very first hit, like I did here. And here it all is. This is all the evidence you need. And look at all this stuff. Nothing in here is critical of it. Nothing in here is giving you scientific evidence of it, more than likely. I haven't clicked on every link, but I probably will, but not in this episode. Anyway, let's look at this definition here. Crystal energy cleanses the negative energies of the body, recharges the chakras, focuses the mind, performs mental and physical healing. Okay, how? Crystals channel energy. How? How does it channel? What energy are you talking about? I mean, we have heat. Certain types of UV radiation is, and other types of radiation is bouncing off us, and we're absorbing some of that. I mean, that kind of energy you're talking about? Are you talking about electrochemical energy? I mean, what do we mean? More than likely, I bet this won't even clarify this. But anyway, it says they intensify, focus, and transmit the energy. To understand how crystal energy works, first, you have to understand how energy works. Oh, cool. It's going to get into detail. Let me click on crystal energy and see what we have here. That does not look like a crystal. But anyway, so what is energy? Our universe is made of energy. We are made of energy and everything around us too. Animals, plants. Well, it says we are made of energy. I can get more detail on that. But anyway, we all have a different vibrational frequency, which varies depending on our healthy emotions, etc. What does even that mean? See, it's a whole bunch of claims that are being made, but what does it mean, and are we sure? What does it mean that we have different vibrational frequencies as the whole individual? What particular parts are we talking about? So that is what we need to investigate when we're talking about how to discern whether something is actually true or false, or the claims that they're making are true or false. So I think that is very important. And if you continue to read, now it turns on to talking about he says we can turn into a radio frequency. We don't emit radio frequencies. What is it talking about? And it just keeps going on and on. Our cells emit energy. That's not the same as radio waves. There are 7 main chakras. Who told you that? What are they? Where is that from? Let's look for some links. Let's keep going. See a healing course they're trying to sell you, and there are no links. That's it. So why would you go to a website like this and believe everything you're telling you, and yet there's not one academic link? There isn't any evidence. to any of these claims. These guys, like this, make some pretty good money selling you crap. All right? They're trying to convince you of this stuff with absolutely no evidence. It's a rock. Okay? There might be some beautiful ones, but it is still just a rock. All right, so, however, I just made a claim. So how would I back that up? Well, now let's go to Google Scholar. This is where I would go. So if you want to find out, are there any scientific studies that back up what you are thinking or challenging what you may be thinking or believing is true, go to Google Scholar and see if there are any studies that support or argue against your position. Please do not go to motherjones.com, Wikipedia, unless you are going to look at the sources or you're just using for background information. Never use Wikipedia to argue a point. Okay? Fox News. Don't go to Fox News to argue a point. All right? If you're using Fox News for information, always ask those very important questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Are they just telling you a whole bunch of claims that they want you to believe because they think you're too lazy to look it up? CNN, that is not an accurate scientific source. All right? Their job is to tell you stories to entertain you. I don't care what any of these networks say. For the most part, their job is to keep you interested, keep you reading, partially entertaining you, and of course, informing you. But informing you, that's the big rub. Where is this information coming from, and how do you know it's true? All right. The Daily Caller, the Young Turks. I love saying Unger, but that is not a valid source of scientific information or even political information or anything else. It is there for you to listen and for them to disseminate the information and for you to discern what is real and what isn't, but you should still always do your own research. That isn't to say that his show is bad, or theirs is now a larger network now. I appeared on his program a decade ago when it was in its infancy, but and he appeared. I don't think he appeared on mine in return. But anyway, so I know the hard work that these guys go into this and how they created this. However, that still, no matter how good he may make me feel as it relates to my belief system, it doesn't mean that he is correct. So I have to always double check these claims. Same thing, MSNBC. Sorry, you just cannot believe everything you hear from these folks. None of them. I look at CNN, to be honest with you, as entertainment. I will be honest with you. I laugh, I look at it, but if there's something that affects me intellectually, I will look it up. And also say emotionally too. Because if it's something that I think is wild and unsupported, I will double check it. And I go to other sources to check. Okay, if it's a scientific claim, I can go to Google Scholar. If it's a historical claim, I can go to other websites to investigate the historicity of it and not having to just use one person's point of view on some talk show. All right, and don't get me wrong, I love all of them to an extent, or certain hosts on these programs to an extent. But again, it's just not evidence. All right, you always want to go to the primary sources. If they're claiming that a senator said something, then go to the paper, for instance, that interviewed this senator and see if he really said that. Look at the whole thing in context. Same thing with scientists. Look at the whole thing in context. So when you go to look up a scientific resource, for instance, let's go to Google Scholar. All right, so now we're going to look at not what people are trying to sell us. Let's type in crystal energy here. But unfortunately, even Google Scholar has gotten loaded with crap over the years. All right, so now we're looking at things from a more scientific perspective. Let's go ahead and look at articles since 2014. All right, now this is talking about computed crystal energy landscapes. So this is going to be something completely different. Everything from computers to pharmaceuticals, maybe to even art. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of different things in here, but more than likely, because this is truly scientific for the most part, most of the stuff is, you will not find anything in here dealing with crystal energy as you would see just doing a regular search. That is why Google created this, is for people who really want to find out, just any academic or researcher But sorry about the noise, guys. I have my family. Like I said, I can't control what they do. I'm not alone anymore, so there's a lot of noise here. But anyway, so I would recommend looking at any time since 2014, then going all the way to 2018 for the most recent information. So Google Scholar is really good. A lot of people, I think, are worried that they may not be able to understand what they're reading. Sadly, there is some truth to that. I have been thinking about myself as creating a website for grade 5 through 12 to try to get people to understand some of this more complicated science in various ways. But there are different websites you can go to that may help, like Newsela. I think it's Newsela.org or Newsela.com. I have to double check. But they break down some of the more complicated news items as well, usually for, I think you're 5 through 12. So it's .com. And you can go here and discover more about what kind of, if it loads, there we go. So I bring my students here quite often. Whenever there is a particular topic that I need them to, I think I need them to understand more. All right, let me go ahead and close that out. All right, so you can imagine why this would be difficult for someone who is so used to hearing things like the chakras. Okay, all right, and of course there are individuals who love this stuff and they will say, you know, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, you haven't researched it, primarily because they haven't heard me utilize the same terms that they use in their day-to-day lives when it comes to this stuff. So therefore, I must be completely ignorant of it because I'm not using their terminology. Well, I'm not using your terminology because it's not real. A lot of these terms are simply made up by somebody trying to make a buck. All you have to do is ask yourself again, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who created this idea? What is it supposed to do? How does it work? Where in your body is it supposed to work? Where does the energy emanate from? Okay. When does this occur? Do you have to heat up the crystal for it to work? It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so those are some of the things I wanted to talk about with you guys today for how to do internet research. Again, don't be casual and careless. Any quick search will reveal to you results for something you want to believe is true. You have to dig deeper by Googling crystal energy. You can type in things such as, is it a hoax, myth, skeptical claims, challenges, things like that. And you will get different, oops, I should have put that in. I was in Scholar there. So in regular Google, I got to get a new microphone. Once I get a new microphone with a stand, you won't hear all this typing. But anyway, so crystal, again, so crystal energy here is hoax. And so is the power quartz a scam? But it says hibiscusmooncrystalacademy.com. I somehow doubt that you're going to get a lot of biased, or shall I say unbiased responses to that. So now you have to be very careful as well. Even on YouTube, a lot of broadcasters are learning, and a lot of internet resources, and this is marketing 101. We've learned now that Google is going to, if we put in our hoax, Google, we're going to find hoax, but your entire page, you might have, is it a hoax? And then the entire page supports crystal energy or psychic energy or ghosts or spirits or psychic control or whatever it is this person might believe in. And it's a really good way to market, to have people come to your website. And unfortunately, the marketers have learned how to do this very well on YouTube, on Google search, and it's really hurting people who are we're trying to help people understand what reality is. And it's hard to break through that when you have thousands, if not millions of websites all saying something is true, where there's absolutely no evidence that those things are true. All right, lastly, a few signs that you may not be thinking critically and are easily taken in by non-evidence-based material. If you find yourself looking at something and you're saying that's a conspiracy, you're probably easily influenced by things. You just might be gullible. All right, the way to break that curse is to ask yourself, could you be wrong? That is the most important thing ever. Am I wrong? Could I be wrong? Ask that question, and then you'll find yourself traveling down the right road to actual knowledge and not pseudoscientific crap. Big pharma, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of things wrong with the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, I know. All right. However, if you find that being your excuse every time you want to take eat some kind of new weird salt because of big pharma, you might not be thinking critically. You're probably just using your bias against big pharma to justify taking strange new natural medicines and herbs and spices and all those things, okay? Just because it sounds scientific, again, remember, that doesn't mean that it is necessarily true. If you find yourself being unable to explain to someone what you believe, it probably means you're biased unjustifiably and that you really don't know what it is that you believe yourself. And if someone asks you and questions you and asks, how do you know? Explain how you know. Don't get offended. Maybe you'll teach them something, but maybe you could be wrong. All right, well, I guess that concludes this. I hope I was able to help. Sorry for the long-windedness. I will work on my time and learning how to shorten my videos and maybe break them down into part ones and part twos and part threes. Again, it's been a long time since I've been back at this, but I just wanted to share with you guys a really good way to do internet research. Again, quick review is just always make sure that you use your due diligence, dig deeper, don't scan the surface, and know when you're being fooled. And as always, please, one of the best resources I go to and I tell my students to always go to is when you get one of those crazy internet memes that claim some weird scientific or pseudoscientific thing is true, why don't you visit Snopes.com and use that as a resource. I think you will find it extremely handy in debunking a lot of things that you thought were true because you've heard them in the media, but they just may not be. All right? Thanks so much. See you later.